Welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is qualifying weekend for the 109th running of the Indy 500. There are few more exhilarating weekends in all of sport, and we cannot wait to bring you every moment on track here on Fox. So one guy who needs the practice time is this guy, Graham Rahal, miserable yesterday with his car, slowest in the field.
Yeah, but it already looks way better on balance, and the key here is, can Graham hold the throttle wide open? He is chasing in turn one, a little bit on the throttle pedal, and a big lift in turn two. So James Graham's still struggling to trust the back end of his race car. It was an issue all day yesterday, complaining on the radio, working with his team. Let's see what turn three looks like now. Almost, well, not quite flat there. This is not ideal because the conditions way easier now than they will be later.
Yeah, the track temperature difference is massive. 74 degrees right now. We saw a peak yesterday of 130 degrees average track temp. The difference that is for these race cars is incredible. The cooler the track temp, usually the more grip you've got. But Graham Rahal once again struggling. This is not looking good for Graham.
No. We saw a max temp yesterday down at turn one of 139 degrees. Firestone telling us they have never seen temperatures that high here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Great to see Kevin Simpson back out on track. A massive hit for him yesterday. This isn't just about feel in the car. This isn't just about setup. This is about confidence, bringing that back for him.
And it seems to be working. 2 laps in the high 230s for Kevin Simpson. That's his quickest one on that most recent lap. Full throttle the whole way through one, whole way through two. This young man seems to have shaken off what happened in turn four pretty quick, T-Bell.
Courage is when you're scared, but you do it anyways, and that's what it took for Kevin Simpson this morning, to try and not forget, but just overcome with willpower that hesitancy to stay flat, to just stick with it. Trust your team and engineers to make the adjustments to the car. The teammate data that he would have looked at from Scott Dixon and Alex Palou yesterday. Kevin Simpson doing a great job celebrating courage at just the right time, but the back of his race car looked a little nervous there out of turn one.
And when you look at the pace that Palou and Dixon, his teammates, had yesterday, that in and of itself will provide some confidence, but it takes the man behind the wheel to keep his foot planted and to put the laps on track. Great to see Kevin Simpson back out there. We talk about being on a knife edge here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Marcus Armstrong has had a big accident out on track. Behind the wheel, moving his hands, the AMR safety team there swiftly to check on how he is.
It's a massive, massive hit for Marcus Armstrong. The visor goes up.
I mean, we talk about...
Good to hear him on the radio.
We talk about the difficult conditions. We talk about being on a knife edge and having to push, needing these laps to find your feel with the car, and this absolutely not what Meyershank needed, not what Marcus Armstrong needed on one of the most important days of the entire season. We did hear him radio in say that he's okay, and that is relieving because that was a big hit.
Well, and oftentimes you can take a hit like that and you might need 20 or 30 seconds before you can actually take a breath. You hear the term knock the wind out of you, and it literally does that, and it's a very awkward feeling. You've probably been there, James. I know I have, where you literally can't inhale just yet, and it takes a moment.
Yeah, the team will often come on the radio immediately and say, hey, are you okay? And you want to reply, but you physically can't. An impact at these speeds, it's a very tough thing to explain to anybody that's not been in an Indy car on an oval and had an incident like this. Imagine being hit by a baseball bat in every square inch of your body simultaneously. It takes the wind completely out of you. You often get your head knocked around a little bit. Your knees can crack into one another. Your hands can hit the side of the tub. There's all sorts of things that happen when that much energy is trying to disperse in one spot.
I was talking to Takuma Sato earlier this week, who of course had that big impact during the open test, and he said even a couple of weeks later his body was still recovering. His ribs were still painful for him after that huge impact in the open test. Marcus Armstrong, if they can rebuild that car, will not have weeks to feel better. He will have but hours in order to try and get himself back into a place where he feels ready to take on this tremendous challenge.
And we get our first look at it now. Yeah, just a little bit high. Loses it once. Very similar to the accident of Takuma Sato, actually. Looks very similar to Takuma's accident from the open test. But it's just a tremendous amount of energy. 230 miles an hour minimum speed in the corner.
Yeah, you look at the gearbox is completely popped open, half shaft ripped out.
And Townsend, you were talking about this right at the top of the show. How loose the rear of these cars can get with the hybrid unit in there, the added weight. The rear went on him. He almost appeared to catch it, and then the rear went on him again.
It's a pendulum effect, right? It catches, and then it hooks back, and then it swings back out again, even bigger on the next one. And at some point, you simply run out of road. Watch in real time.
Oh, boy.
Oh. And you know what? The way he hit, the back goes in first, but it almost creates a whiplash effect with the front of the car coming around. And often it's that second impact that hurts more.
He's high.
He's definitely a little high. He saves it that first time, but the momentum, it's the inertia of the back coming one direction, then the other. And as the front of the car comes around, that's obviously where the driver's sitting in the front half of the car. You can really smack your knees together. That can be one of the big issues for the driver in that type of impact.
Coming down, a lot of debris, hard. Right here, the one right there. Stay up high. Over the top of that. Yep, take a look. Car's still over there in the middle of 2, rolling down. You see it.
Sun low as Scott Dixon came through 1 and 2. And Marcus Armstrong on the gurney being taken away by the AMR safety team. And as you say, guys, the wind very much knocked out of him, but a thumbs up from Marcus Armstrong. Good to see. We have green flag running. We have cars on track. We have just under 7 minutes remaining of the session. Alexander Rossi, who's been looking good all week, looking confident out there in the ECR machine. David Maluka, Santino Ferrucci's teammate, currently with the fastest one-lap pace of a 2:32.037. His 4-lap average a 2:31.737. We thank Santino Ferrucci for coming up here. Great insight from him. Guys, what are you making of Rossi's run so far?
Well, warm-up lap done at a 2:15, so about on par, but it's you just saw him drive through turn 2 there with that puff of quick dry that was down cleaning up the accident of Marcus Armstrong. That was always something that I hated seeing as a driver, going out after someone had an incident, knowing you got to drive through that stuff when you're in qualifying trim. It's already sketchy, it's already low grip.
And like we talked about yesterday, after a big crash like that, you know Alexander Rossi will be that extra bit more respectful of what he's feeling in his car. But I'm curious, what does Marcus Armstrong's teammate Felix Rosenqvist think about what just happened?
So the oil dry is on the bottom at the third away around turn 2, kind of like a landing.
It's literally right on the apex, right?
I think the majority of the oil dry is a half a lane off the bottom.
So that's really just about information on the racetrack from the spotter about where all the oil dry went down. Having somebody go run like Rossi before you go, if you're Rosenqvist, is a huge benefit because you're able to sit, watch like we are on the monitors as Rossi's rear end starts to do a little dance at the exit of turn 1. James, 1 is looking tricky, 2 also because of the push off with the wind, but turn 1 is really demanding on the back of the race car this morning.
A 2:29.1, that tells me He does not have the confidence he needs. I would imagine that's not pure pace. He must have had a lift somewhere around the lap.
I'll bet it came down in 1 and 2. As 3 and 4 looks a little bit more straightforward.
Very slight lift, middle of 1, very slight lift, middle of 2. Literally just one of those bars that you see on the trace at the bottom of your screen. Hybrid depleting on that slow trickle, and we will see a differentiation in how the hybrid is used between teams here today.
And that last lap was a 2:29.6, even with a bit of hybrid and a bit of a toe. This is not looking good for Rossi. Now remember, that was his second run. He had already been out, which means that the engine's a little bit hotter than it's going to be for a proper run. And not everything's optimized, but still, I'd be a little bit concerned with that pace. Not sure the Andretti cars have the outright speed for pole today, just based on what we've seen, but speed in general seems to be there. That's a nice jump from Colton Herta, 2:32.762. That is a strong, strong lap. And really not one with any proper toe is Rosenqvist.
1 lap speed for Rosenqvist, 2:34.176. That Meyershank car has pace in hand.
And that is encouraging because Rosenqvist not really getting any help there.
It didn't clock as a no-toe lap.
Yeah, that's weird.
There must have been a car maybe on the back straight that pit in, and he got a little bit of help. Let's see what this next lap can be.
He's got the biggest turn 1 trap speed, Will, at 239.5 miles an hour. Mocking.
Crosses the line at a 2:33.4. Still stout. That's fast enough to be the single best no-toe time.
He just clicked 240 on the entrance to turn 1.
240.
Imagine.
Flat out. No lifting. 90-degree corner. Get some.
And in the Creed-sponsored car, the speed goes
Don't
higher.
say it. Don't say
higher.
it. As we ride on board now, the shell on board of Josef Newgarden, another driver that we saw have some struggles yesterday in the heat.
Let's look at the driver's side. Look at that. Look at what Rosenqvist was talking about. The glare off the aero screen and trying to find the white line of the apex in turn 2. You can really appreciate how hard it is at this time of day. Currently 9:17 local time. That sun still pretty low in the sky.
I love this view. I love getting the spy cam on the driver's dash. You see above the number 5, that's the gear. There's a -38. That's his weight jacker position. When he hits that fast jacker, watch that number go red, go positive. That's moving the weight back to the right front. Now he's got it back set up to the left. So that'll be a value that they've got of the cross weight across the front axle.
This is awesome. Look at that warm-up speed, 2:18.1.
So there you go. You see that number. That's right front weight essentially being put on the car. It's dropping the right rear of the car to get the rear wing out of the wind, try to remove a little bit of the drag. He comes off that button. It goes back to -37. That's weight on the left front.
But watch the hands. Look at how confident and smooth and predictable the balance of the car looks. It'll really get tested right here as he crosses his first time lap, 2:33.1. Now it gets tough right here as the tires start to wear.
Into 1 and 2, and look at the glare on the screen. Has to find his place, has to find his mark just by muscle memory.
This balance is on a razor thin line. Newgarden, you can tell, barely has to load the steering to get the car to turn. It's almost turning itself.
That's kind of what you want in qualifying. The steering wheel is a brake. The more steering input you're putting in, the more scrub you've got in the front end, the more speed you're bleeding off mid-corner. You want that car just on the edge of free, just on the edge of neutral. Newgarden, though, doing a great job. Don't see the hybrid deployment strategy the same as what we saw them doing yesterday in those practice runs.
That's a great point. So yesterday they were deploying and then harvesting on the back stretch. None of that today.
Deploy middle of the back.
So there you go, deploy middle of the back. This seems to be a popular strategy. Is kind of the slow burn is the nickname we're giving it.
Still see 95% charge on the hybrid, and we should see a thumb, or maybe it's a trigger finger on the back of the wheel as we watch the hybrid trickle down this lap.
This lap's not a legit one because of that slight toe from the 17 of Larson.
And we weren't seeing Penske use the trickle strategy before.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
They were the ones that were using it multiple times in the run. Full deployment, full regen, full deployment.
And it's interesting because normally teams are watching Team Penske. What are they doing? In this case, I think Team Penske is adjusting to what everybody else has been doing on the slow deploy.
Well, we spoke to Tim Cindric yesterday, and he says that they were watching what everybody else was doing. They might try some other strategies, perhaps deploying it in practice, seeing which one the drivers are more comfortable with. But as Tim told us yesterday, we wanted to give them the more complicated version of how you use the hybrid, so that if we went to this simple trickle-down system, it would be way easier for
And it's working, because he did 232.9 on lap 3, but then he went back up to a 233.1 on the final lap. So the hybrid delivering the power that we expect, and ultimately the average lap performance.
It's currently under caution because somebody's hose has dropped out. Somebody's air hose. I think it might be Kyle Larson's. Actually, we're going to get a replay of it, and it is Kyle Larson's. There we go, flailing around outside of the aero screen, and it's going to pop off right about now. Seen a couple of those this week. Happened at Santino. Now, how are they connected? Is it magnetic?
I think it's magnetic to the helmet, but affixed to the car end. Larson sits, I was going to say maybe a little bit on the higher side, James, but that gives you a sense of just how forceful the air is coming over the top of the aero screen, and it can create quite a bit of suction.
And this is a replay then of Will Power's run.
Oh boy.
Oh my God, you see the dust coming off the tire.
I mean, it blew paint off the wall.
But this is like the third or fourth time we've seen this out of Power. He just seems to open his hands a little bit earlier coming off a 2.
Now, we saw a huge impact for Marcus Armstrong a little bit earlier in the number 66 Meyershank car. Kevin down in the garage area.
No big surprise that they are going to have to go to a backup car. We confirmed that with team co-owner Michael Shank. There is still a chance that the engine, as we check, could be used, but they have another engine from Honda there as well. And you'll see a lot of Ganassi crew members back there to help. They are sourcing some parts for Ganassi, so there's a big benefit of that technical relationship. It is all hands on deck. There's Taylor Kyle, one of the managers for Chip Ganassi Racing, in the white shirt there. Still TBD. We'll wait to get a full report and find out if Marcus Armstrong is cleared to drive that car, if they can have it prepared later today. They have until 5:50 before qualifying is complete. Otherwise, it's into the last row shootout tomorrow.
We've been waiting for news on Marcus Armstrong. Georgia can bring that to us now.
Yeah, and here with me, I have Dr. Julia Visor here to give a statement on Marcus Armstrong.
Yeah, thank you. He is awake, he's alert, he's doing well. You know, these hits at IMS Oval can be really hard, and we just want to make sure we don't rush things, we take our time, and make the right decisions for the driver.
Thank you, Dr. Visor.
Thank you very much.
So that is definitely not Marcus Armstrong saying, hey, it was a big hit, but I'm absolutely okay. That's the doctor saying we're taking our time to evaluate and make a decision. So it's in her hands as the doctor to decide whether or not Marcus Armstrong will be fit enough to have another go.
So this is how they will run off today. Marcus Ericsson will be the first driver out to qualify. Then it'll be Pato O'Ward, Kiffin Simpson, Robert Schwartzman with a good early draw and had looked promisingly fast for the rookie team Prema. Alexander Rossi up in there as well. The first 12 drivers, and Armstrong, we think, unlikely to take that place.
What I liked about that, Marcus Ericsson drew first. He was the first car on track today. Worst track conditions you're going to see, really, because it was green from all the rain last night. He's going to be the first one up. I like the fact the team decided, let's be the first one out this morning, try to get in the rhythm of being that first car.
And look at this, Josef Newgarden, 33rd. Rinus VeeKay, who we know qualifies well here as well, 34th.
It's going to be super tough for these guys because temperature will be up, wind will be up. Also for Alex Palou and Scott McLaughlin there, as we remind you what will happen today on day one of qualifying for the 109th Indy 500. All 34 cars get an attempt guaranteed, and then the top 12 will advance to day two. But today is about locking in positions 13 through 30th.
So we will see all 34 cars attempt a run, then it's stick or twist. It is electrifying. It is one of the most exciting forms of qualifying for motor racing anywhere on Earth. And it only happens here. It only happens this weekend, and we cannot wait to share it with you. Qualifying for the 109th running of the Indy 500 is later today. Join us, won't you?